What is going on, everybody? I am your host, Jeff, and today we're looking at the last two games of Boston Uprising and Houston Outlaws because I did the first two games on Thursday night, I believe. Yeah, that's uploaded onto my YouTube channel. You can check that out if you would like to, or of course you can check out the link to that here on Twitch as well. Anyways, without further ado, I'm just going to start this VOD review. So we got Houston Outlaws and the Boston Uprising playing here on Illios, which has been a very strong map for both Boston and for Houston. They both have done quite well. Of course, Houston went on that large winning streak where they didn't drop a single map to any team, so that is, of course, to be considered. But, of course, Boston is known for their dive tank play, and Illios, of course, favors the dive composition. So what we want to see here is, you know, basically how these teams play out, because they're going to be running mirror compositions. The dive composition with Widowmaker is quite standard on Illios. So let's see how they try and take this first point. Linkser's coming up around the side here, which is interesting. I kind of like to see where all the Widowmakers position at the very beginning, because they're always trying to find the angle. Ooh. So let's watch that again, see what happens. So usually a lot of Widowmakers will like go up here first, but Linkser, I assume, is trying to get onto this ledge to like spot out Dreamcasper beforehand, because he assumes that Dreamcasper is going to be peeking this angle first, because that's where most Widowmakers go. So he goes up here, he peeks in front to make sure he's safe, and then gonna push up a little bit, I guess, look for other angles, and I think that's just kind of unlucky, because he pushes up and he checks, and then that's when Dreamcasper pops out, and he's already got his charged up shot ready to go. But as soon as that happens, you know, the tanks are diving in because they don't have to be scared at all, and Houston has to back off, and they'll just take the point for free, basically, because Houston doesn't want to lose any more heroes to Boston Uprising, and there's literally no way they can win that fight. So very clean disengage. Oh, Jake goes down too. That's so unlucky. Alright, so I don't know how Jake goes down, but alright, so Coolmat comes in to contest. Well, no, Jake goes in to contest, because someone's on the point already, if you can see right here. So Jake goes in to contest, and Coolmat and Muma come in around the side. Dreamcasper kills Jake, and Boink comes in here and starts to heal Coolmat, but he just gets demexed from all the pressure. I'm kind of confused as to what happens here, because it looks like Muma... Okay, Muma does drop shield, but it gets broken really fast. Yeah, they just got straight up out damaged there. They had no DPS really laying anything into Boston Uprising, so they couldn't actually do anything. They just got demeched and killed. Alright, so Striker's pushed up around the back, which means he's going to have a lot of pressure on the supports for Houston Outlaws, specifically Raucus. And Linkser takes out Neko, which is a big pick, which means that Striker has to go big here to even out what's going on. Oh, that's such a nice play. So now he's going to be looking for Neko on the backside. Oof, that's the DMAC, that's the DMAC. And one of the great things about Boston Uprising that I just want to point out is that Striker is coming up here. While he's pushing up, his tanks are getting in position. He goes on to Linkser, and as soon as that happens, you see that there's Note and Gamsu's pushing in around the side somewhere. Yeah, Gamsu comes in around. And so they know exactly like where everyone is, and they're ready to engage at the drop of a hat. Really strong coordination. And it's kind of disappointing from Houston Outlaws, because they're not trying any interesting approaches. They're just kind of going through main and then getting a play made on them by Boston. Like, Boston is setting up plays, and they're engaging before Houston Outlaws has a chance to really get into a position where they can pressure them, which is really smart. That's how Boston wants to play. As soon as I say that, of course, Houston Outlaws makes a engage. But the question is, where's Jake at? I want to see where Jake is. Jake's, oh, it looks like Jake is all the way in the back. Because you know, it turns around for a second. Then it looks like Jake is all the way back there, and he's pressuring Neko a little bit. Or no, that's not Neko. He's pressuring Dream Casper. Oh, Jake kills Neko though. That's big. Rez is off. Okay, is there any Valkyrie? Okay, Valkyrie has been popped from Kellex. Houston does not have it. Oh, Boink goes down. So this is the fight win for Boston Uprising. They have one last fight, Houston, to make something happen here. But the reality is, unless they have... Like, actually, this next... Oh, that's huge. Okay, so yeah. Houston actually has a really good chance of taking this next fight. Because they burned the Transcendence from Neko, it's going to be really difficult for Boston to win the next team fight. If Houston can touch. Oh, they weren't able to touch. See, that's the thing. See, this fight went on too long for them. Because it's 88% right now. If they disengage now and they touch, that it would be fine, but Muma goes in to burn the Transcendence, and then once that happens, they no longer have the ability to touch after overtime ticks out. That is just unlucky. I mean, not unlucky, obviously. But the big issue there was the timing, not the game plan. They were too late. They burned the Transcendence, but they weren't able to respawn fast enough to touch. So. Wow, look at that guy popping off. All right, let's go, boys. He's really thriving. Alright, so Dreamcasper on the fair. Linkser is going to be on McCree. So they're kind of playing two different philosophies of Illios right now. So Boston is saying, we'll just rain fire down on your backline. And Linkser's saying, no, I can get on the high ground. I can hold the high ground, and I can take out your Dreamcasper. Really what this means is whichever team has the more coordinated push onto the enemy is going to win. Because when you have a McCree versus Pharah, they both are counters to each other. Like, Pharah does actually counter McCree, but McCree also kind of counters Pharah. The big thing here is we need to see is how the tank line plays out, because how the tank line plays determines which DPS will be successful. When you have a Pharah, your tank line wants to be really aggressive in the enemy's DPS, so that your Pharah can basically just rain rockets down onto the enemy. Whereas if you have the McCree, you're playing a more reserved style. You're trying to you want to definitely dive if you have the opportunity to. However, you need to make sure that you're willing to stay back and peel for your McCree, because McCree is one of the most fragile heroes in the game. He's the most fragile DPS by a long margin. So he has to be protected, otherwise he won't stay out for very long. Especially against a strong Pharah like Dream Casper.
They're going to have Linkser just go at Dreamcasper up in the sky. See Dreamcasper just putting down some damage here. It's going to be hard for Linkser to get any type of like great sightlines, right? Because as soon as he pops out, McCree obviously with not a lot of mobility, Dreamcasper.
Alright, so the dive comes in onto the high ground, and they get Neko. That's a very smart play. So it's actually kind of interesting how Boston didn't see that one coming, because Neko's up on the high ground, which is where Zenyatta wants to be positioned. So I'm trying to see why he died, because you see Cool Mats popping around, you see Muma's popping around a little bit, and he jumps in right here. How did they not see that coming? It actually, because they just jumps up here and it's so easy. They don't even get a return kill for that. That's unlucky. Yeah, so that's going to be a point take. Really smart play from Houston Outlaws. They didn't even show McCree at all in that fight to Linkser, or to Dream Casper. They just literally dived Neko and then won the fight off of that. And Neko was in a good spot, but he had no peel from his team. Striker's going to find Jake, though, so that's big. Oh, that's a sick flashbang. Oh! That's a good response from Note. Dream Casper kills Boink.
Who wins a 1v1 against Jake here.
I'm trying to... did he know where Note was? He did, yeah. So he knew where Note was going, but he didn't have any time to react to that. After that happens, you see Gamsu piling in here, and Kellex is getting peeled for, which is really nice to see. See, this is really smart from Boston right here. How they play is they have both tanks coming over here. They have Kellex on the opposite side, so that when Cool Matt goes over, he has tanks over here he can go to. He pops on over, right? And then Cool Matt tries to follow him, but then Gamsu jumps to the other side, and Kellex can easily follow him. And he's getting defense matrix because Note is on the backside. So Cool Matt can't do anything there to kill Kellex, and he's getting really strong peel.
And now the Boston have their time in the sun. Jake just gets a little bit low, and Striker goes in, finishes him off. Was not safe to res him back up. The next kill goes over to the Boston Uprising as well.
So they're trying to take the high ground right now. This is potentially dangerous position for Muma. Oh, he has to pop the Primal Rage right away, which is unlucky because now they don't have their dive opportunity that they were trying to set up. And McCree on this high ground is like, where's Linkser? How does he get any damage into this fight? That's such a bad position for Houston to be in, because so Striker finds Muma in here, so Muma has to be really careful. Muma can't fight this out because he knows that Striker has pulse bomb. So Muma has to jump in over this way and straight into Boston's team, and Cool Matt has to jump in to give him backup. But remember that Linkser is up here. He's up on this high ground. And so if he drops down, he can do a little bit of damage, but that makes him vulnerable to Striker. And his tanks are over here, way, way, way back. He can't do any damage to support them. So he ends up dropping down over here, but then again, he can really only do damage to like 2 people, while his tanks are getting destroyed by the rest of Boston Uprising. So it's the Pulse Bomb, the DMAC. They're gonna go on to point to stay hold, and there's really no way that Houston wins this fight. Well, they do pop the Valkyrie, but Kellex also has that, so yeah, I don't see this coming. Yeah.
It was actually Jake getting knocked away, I think, by the resource.
So yeah, that was a really good play by Striker. He forced Muma into a really crappy position so that Houston Outlaws dive just got completely destroyed before it even started.
Gamsu knocks him off the side with Primal Rage, so potentially saving Kellex and Dreamcasper, right, if they're up in the sky, because they're playing in the middle of the map.
They're trying to use Jake to pressure Dreamcasper, but it's not going to work.
Dreamcasper, right, if they're up in the sky, because they're playing in the middle of the map, not a ton of cover at all. Casper with a bit of freedom. Jake has fallen already. Not a good start for the Houston Outlaws in this fight, but there's the damage from Linkser, keeping Dreamcasper honest, but he's still alive.
I mean, Jake's down, so this fight, at this time, the fight's over. And I think that was a really good, like, this was a really nice play from Boston Uprising, not because they got a lot of kills, but because Houston Outlaws got the exact positioning they wanted, but no one died. You can see that Gamsu was positioning, so Gamsu jumps up here, and the tanks of, so he gets discorded, and then Cool Matt and Muma both try to follow up, and Gamsu manages to stay alive. You can see they come from two different angles. They come from here, and they come from, like, over here, you know. And Gamsu just drops down. He gets healed up by Kellex and by Neko. And they manage to keep him alive just barely. And Jake's dead because Striker's the god. And Linkser backs off. So the big ultimates that are coming up here soon are basically... we have Pulse Bomb coming up for Jake, and then after that, Houston Outlaws doesn't have anything besides the Transcendence for probably one more team fight. Whereas we got 3 ultis, and then Kellex is going to have his Valkyrie as soon at the same time as Boink. Now, the ooh, that's a big D-Mech. Ooh, yeah, okay, he's gonna get healed up. Alright, so they blow the Transcendence to stay on the point, and that's just gonna force... Yeah, the fight's done, yeah. Okay, so... Smart plays all around. Alright, so first off, Coolmat is in this position. What he's looking for is he's looking for a nice spot to go onto the point. But... Striker's not letting him see what's going on. He's harassing him and he's forcing him to burn his defense matrix, and then he pulse bombs him, which means he has to back off and get healed by Boink. Right? He would have liked to get the D-Mech, but even though he doesn't, they're at 90% already. Houston Outlaws wasting any time is huge. Now that's a really lucky Boink by Dreamcasper, but even if he didn't get that, they still would have won this fight because it was so disjointed from Houston Outlaws because Striker was staggering Coolmat basically. You saw that Muma came in and then Coolmat came in like a second later because he was still getting healed up by Boink. So there was no opportunity for a coordinated dive from Boston Uprising. And I think part of the issue with that is Outlaws stuck on this McCree for a very long time, even though they never used High Noon to actually zone out anyone from the team, because basically the value of McCree is that you have strong area denial, you can stop Striker from going in your backline with the threat of flashbang, but Striker was positioning really well and he wasn't letting any of that happen. And so if they stick McCree on Linkser still, but they can't use him to punish Striker for making these strong plays onto the tanks, they have to swap off and try something else. There's really good coordination from Boston Uprising, because they were just using Striker to harass the tanks. They weren't actually using him to really get kills. I mean, obviously he got kills in team fights and cleaning up, but outside he wasn't getting solo kills onto the supports or anything. He was just harassing the tanks and making sure that Muma and Coolmat couldn't dive at the same time.
A little bit faster. The last to secure themselves a playoff spot.
Dorado.
In stage 1. Boston, they need to win it. From the Uprising. Dreamcast.
Too far. Too far. Alright. Okay. So going into this game, we have Jake on the Ferret, and we have Linkser on the Widowmaker. So what that's going to do for Houston Outlaws, I'm actually kind of surprised, because normally you would see either the Ferret or the Widowmaker, but you wouldn't see both at the same time. I wonder if one of them is going to swap to the Tracer, because I feel like having that flank pressure is super important on Dorado. However, I do want to say that Ferret has access to some different mobility options, different flank routes that Tracer would not have access to, and so there is the possibility that they play a more flanking style of Pharah, just trying to get behind the enemy and make them turn around. I don't think that's likely though, because we're going to see Striker on the Widowmaker and Dreamcasper on the Junkrat. They're going to have strong control over these choke points, and it's going to be really hard for for Jake to actually do much with this Pharah. So I wonder if they're going to swap to Tracer when they see Striker on the Widowmaker. And the cool thing about this actually is that this is a really different look from Boston Uprising. We have not seen Gamsu really play the Orisa. We haven't really seen Neko play Roadhog. And we haven't seen a triple tank at all from Boston Uprising, I think, before this map. So, let's go going. This is a very, very strong static defense from Boston Uprising. Getting that pick on the Striker is super big. Never mind. That actually ended up not being super important. I thought Striker was a bit further up and he wouldn't be able to be rezzed, but yeah, no, he was just on that ledge there, so I didn't realize.
Not often actually that we see Striker on the Widowmaker here. It's a different look from the Uprising. Dream Casper had such a successful Illios, but they need his Junkrat. Yeah, they want to play it on. They play Striker or Widowmaker when they want to run Junkrat on some maps. So we see it on Horizon, we see it on Junkertown a lot.
Oh, nice little 2-tap, but the res comes out again. I didn't realize Muma was playing Orisa, but that's an interesting strat. Okay, whoa. I'm dumb. So I didn't realize it, but Raucus is on Roadhog. Was that before? They swapped him after they started. When did they swap that? Did they swap it before the round began, or did they swap it immediately afterwards? Okay, yeah, so round begins. Raucus is on Zenyatta, but they instantly swap to Roadhog, and they swap off the Pharah onto Junkrat. Okay. So that makes a lot more sense. I'm not surprised Jake went to the Junkrat. I should have expected that already. He'd been playing Tracer a bunch in this series, but Junkrat makes a lot more sense in every way, especially for Jake. We're gonna see this fun little shield war. I like the positioning of the shield from Muma, because if we look at where the shield is with Muma, see if we can get a better view. There's like a height differential between the ground, right? There's all this space in between the ground and the Orisa shield, which means that it's a lot harder for Junkrat to, like, for Dream Casper to spam this shield down, because there's, like, if he just spams downwards, the bombs will all just kind of, like, roll down the hill, and they won't hit the shield, and then they can use the payload for extra cover, which will kind of even out the high ground advantage. I say that in quotes, that Boston Uprising has. There's a little bit of height differential here. Boston Uprising shield is like right here, and so there's a little bit of a height differential there, and this kind of helps even it out. See, the hooks come out. No one actually goes down though. Cool, Matt demeched. Oh, that's a nice attempt, but they don't get anything there. And this is just such a hard choke to push through. Basically, Houston's just trying to muscle through it with a lot of beef. But the issue with the strategy is that there's just as much beef coming out of Boston Uprising. So basically, Houston Outlaws is saying, we're going to hook one of you guys and kill you, or we're going to get a pick with Linkser and kill you that way. Once they get that pick, they can just push forward unopposed. The problem is, if Boston Uprising is disciplined enough, they won't ever get that pick. They're just going to keep waiting, because the static defense from Boston Uprising means they don't have to ever make an offensive play. They can just sit there spamming super passively, and as long as they play around their cooldowns properly, they will never give up any ground. And so I'm not sure if I enjoy this strategy from Houston Outlaws. It definitely is a strategy that can work very well, but I think as an attacking team, especially against really strong teams like Boston, and look, wow. See, this is what I'm talking about. Basically, they're relying on Dream Casper staying there for too long, right? You can't guarantee that Dream Casper gets greedy and stays there like that, you know? And so basically, there's no playmaking potential outside of the Widowmaker for Houston Outlaws, or outside of a Riptire. Those are the only two real playmaking abilities they have. Obviously, Roadhog has the hook cooldown, which can punish poor positioning, like we see Dream Casper here. And I honestly, it's hard to say why Dream Casper stayed for so long. It has to just be miscommunication between his team, because he should have seen the payload pushing up and should have known that Raucus was going to be turning the corner very soon, or not necessarily Raucus, but someone at least. But anyways, But yeah, outside of Widowmaker getting a sick play or a rip tire, there's no really strong playmaking ability from the Houston Outlaws, which is why I don't like their team comp. But it does work, you know, like, it definitely can work.
He doesn't get the health, but Jake was going to kill him anyway, if I'm not mistaken, with that concussive fine. They're going to camp the body as well, so Kellex can't go in there and get a free res off. Neko using the whole hog.
Oh, wow, his whole hog gets interrupted. They hook Muma, but there's no way that actually. Kellex is going to pop. Both Valkyries going to get popped. Self-destruct's going to come out. Ooh, nice play by Striker. But here comes the Riptire. And nothing. Unlucky. This might be a hold. This is a very chaotic fight. But it looks like it will be a hold, most likely. Striker's positioning on the backline here is really good.
Striker evading him for the time being. Payload's still moving somehow. Nice flank there from Neko, but it wasn't able to find the kill. Raucous Punishes. Lynx is also there. I was going to say, Houston still has.
I'm gonna have to watch this again to see what actually happened.
Still alive for the Boston Uprising, trying to keep this going. It'll be the supercharger that comes out from Gamsu. They're able to deal with Lynxer, but Houston still has such a big man advantage here as Gamsu just trying to stay alive behind his barrier. He should be dealt with rather quickly. Roll come back here on Genji. They're just trying to extend this a little bit longer.
All right. So let's go back and watch this entire take. So it all starts off with Dream Casper getting killed by Roadhog Hook. And then a large, massive fight ensued. Alright, so Dream Casper dies. Kellex is getting denied the resurrect because the tanks are pushing up into the room. So you see Cool Matt coming around like this. Which means that Boston Uprising kind of has to back up a little bit so that they don't get flanked super hard by Cool Matt, who wants to pick off Kellex. At this point, popping the Valkyrie does make sense. They want to try and, basically sustain until Dream Casper can get back to the fight. So that's a nice hook. The ultimate comes out from Raucous to push them all back. And basically there's no setup here anymore from Gamsu. There's no shield coming down. The payload's just free pushing in. And so he pushes out a little bit to try and do something, but the reality is you can't get anything there. So the self-destruct comes out from Note just to buy a little bit of time. His mech is getting low, so he just pops it. It forces Houston Outlaws back a little bit, and it forces basically, yeah, well, it just literally just forces Houston Outlaws back a little bit. Now, while this is all happening, Striker flanks all the way around, and he gets a really great vantage point. This is a super risky play because, again, Lynx is right there, and he knows where he is, so he has to win that duel. But if he does, it puts Boston in a really good position to hold. So, because now Houston Outlaws has to worry about this Widowmaker from the back destroying them. Coming back in here, Jake pops the Riptire that gets bonked. Cool Matt takes out Gamsu again, and there's no more reses from Boston Uprising because, as you can see here, Kellex has already resurrected Note. So the teams are even here. However, Boston is down a tank, whereas Houston is down a Widowmaker. And in this kind of situation, you always would rather be down the Widowmaker than your main tank because Widow is garbage in team fights. She can... I shouldn't say garbage. Widow is not great in team fights. She's really great for starting off a team fight if you get a pick, and she's really good for picking off stragglers as well after a team fight. But during a team fight, it's a lot less. You do see like players like Pine popping off and getting like 5 kills on like Illios, but generally speaking, it's much less likely you're gonna get any picks. You might get in some chip damage onto the tanks, which is very helpful, but ultimately that bedrock for your team is the main tank. And now that Cool Matt's gone behind and forced Striker off, it's gonna be a bit like it's gonna take longer for Striker to get back into position than it will for Cool Matt, especially because now Lynxer's respawned, so Striker doesn't know where Lynxer is. So if he just goes back to that same position, he's gonna get killed instantly.
Still moving somehow. Nice flank there from Neko, but it wasn't able to find a kill. Raucous Punishes.
And at this point, 2 kills come in for Houston Outlaws. Neko, how does he die?
To be specific, Striker evading him for the time.
Alright, so Neko goes on this long flank backwards, which I don't know if that's a good idea. There's literally, like, this is all Houston Outlaws right here. You see, I think that's Note. I can't tell. I'm just judging by these little particles right here, which look like Diva rockets. Note's in here with Kellex, maybe. Can't tell. And Neko's all the way back here. There's no way this flank actually works. He gets a hook, but he's going to die instantly. There's no way that does anything. Note and Kellex are in there. They're going to pop out to delay. But now it's just the stall tactics. They'll get a... Oh, they won't really get anything. They'll get Bonnie, which is good. But... no dice. Nice little D-Mech on the backside for Neko, but he's probably going to die.
We're into the second phase of the map. The Outlaws looking too shabby. Rising a little bit worse for wear after the previous fight.
So Striker's hanging out on Tracer now in the church, which is a nice position to deny because it means Linkser won't be able to get onto the high ground. Either way Linkser goes, basically. So Linkser could try and go for a flank on the very back catwalk, or he could go up here and try and get a nice little nest, and Striker can deny both at the same time with his positioning where he is in church.
If they're going to play this tank-heavy comp, you may as well keep the Roadhog in, right? Because they're not contesting for the high ground with the setup they have. It gives them a nice bit of disengage and allows them to, you know, hog the enemy team and get a new shield to set up so they can...
That's a really nice halt.
Self-destruct in, Jake falls foul of it, but that's going to be knocked down to a headshot from Linkser via the courtyard, and now he's going to attract a little bit of attention, unwanted. It may be...
Unlucky. So... what happens here is, so basically, Linkser's trying to find a pick from the enemy team up here. So Boston is trying to set up here because that gives them a good vantage point to dive off of. And then they can have Note coming from one angle, and they can have Gamsu coming from another angle, and they can just, like, focus fire onto someone like that, right? So Linkser doesn't try to contest this high ground at all by jumping onto it. He tries to contest it by staying in the back here, behind cover, and getting a pick onto whoever shows. So he gets a body, pops the visor, jumps up, gets another body. That forces Dream Casper back. But now they know that they get the scout out. They know that Note's up here. Gamsu's back here. They have all this knowledge now of where exactly Boston is. And so I think it's Muma sends up a halt right there. He pulls him off, forces the self-destruct out, and as soon as that goes down, there's a nice little headshot by Linkser. Now Dream Casper does take out Muma, and we do get a nice little takeout from Jake there. But where is Dream Casper at is what I want to know, because Gamsu he dives in there literally completely alone, and Dream Casper comes in super late. So that's some uncharacteristic poor coordination where Gamsu goes in literally completely alone without Dream Casper onto Linkser and gets punished for it. And if that didn't happen, actually, Boston would have had a decent shot at winning that team fight. But losing your main tank pretty much almost always is a team fight loss, unless it's at the very end of the fight that you're already winning. Jake coming out with the Riptire. Nice.
Thought about the blade there, but he's cut down by Jake with a concussive fire. He's brought back into the fight. It looks like the Uprising going to need him at this stage. Jake, coming out from him.
Double support ultimates coming out from Boston Uprising.
Jake trying to stay safe right now, but it might be a little bit nasty. Cool Matt finds Neko. Jake's knocked away from most of the action here. The whole hop from Walker's paying off towards the end. It's just Note on the payload. He hasn't died much this series. It's time for that streak to end. I'm sure of it. The Outlaws.
Alright, let's watch that again. I didn't see what happened. Alright, so Neko takes out the Jake tire. Striker comes in. Striker and Dream Casper both go in and get Linkser. However, Jake gets the return kill onto Dreamcasper, and Bonnie gets the res onto Linkser right away by popping Valkyrie, which means that... So Calyx pops Valkyrie as well, but while that happens, Gamsu and Note are both in a bad spot. So Calyx gets the res onto Gamsu and gets the res onto Dreamcasper, but Note is still demeched. And while... Oh, that's a big pick. Linkser gets the kill onto Calyx while he's resing Dreamcasper up. And when that's the fight. There's nothing you can do after that. And as soon as like Dreamcasper gets res, he gets killed by Muma. So Boston Uprising dived really hard onto Linkser, and they got him, but they didn't have any tanks there to peel to peel Jake off of Dreamcasper. If Note was in there with Dream, he would have lived, and they could have won that fight easily, because they could have also punished... They literally could have punished Bonnie while he was going for the res. But because there wasn't a tank dive with the DPS from Boston Uprising, they weren't able to punish Calyx, and they weren't able to keep Dream alive. I was talking, I didn't see this. So, the junk tire came out from Jake again. He has it. Pops it. While that happens, Bonnie dies immediately. Where's Bonnie at? We literally never see where Bonnie is. Jake kills Gamsu while he's diving onto Raucus, and then immediately after that happens, he doesn't even have time to react. Dreamcasper's right in there, and then Linkser falls in the thing. So there's one ultimate burned for one ultimate burned, but Boston Uprising stalls out the payload.
Before Houston realizes that their push was over, but 2 minutes and 22 seconds remain. And we'll see if they want to try and set up a little bit more for a high ground play. They're going to run head first.
Alright, so we got the scout out from Gamsu right here. But they already saw them run through because of the windows. So basically, where's Note? Okay, Note's right here. So I want to see how Boston Uprising attacks this.
Try and get some damage in there. He does have primer range, which is going to be potentially lethal. But Jake, limited damage put into. He's giving himself away, but Raucus is looking low. He recalls out.
Oh, that's unlucky.
Oh dear, that's not good. It's a bad trap, and he doesn't see it. Walks over the top of it, and things look like they're going south.
That trap just destroyed Boston's attack. That was actually a good attack too. So he pressures out Raucus, he rewinds, and while this, they almost demec Cool Matt right here. If that trap doesn't happen, they demec Cool Matt and win the fight, I think. But because of that trap, Striker goes down, and then Dreamcasper goes down immediately afterwards. Yeah, basically as soon as Striker goes down, Muma jumps onto Dreamcasper. And there's no follow-up damage from... Like, if Cool Matt gets demexed, then Muma has to peel for his supports, which Muma's not very good at peeling because he's on a Winston. And then you just win. But since Cool Matt stays in mech, Muma's free to go aggro, because he can peel for his supports, and you can chase down that kill onto Dreamcasper. So that trap pretty much just won Houston the stage, or not the stage, but the map, the round. Unless that's a sick self-destruct. So Transcendence from Raucus, self-destruct's coming out, Bonnie dies. Jake's up on the high ground. Where is Striker? Striker isn't coming in. Jake replaces his trap. So Jake had placed a trap here, but now it's here. And Note's going to see that. So Striker's going to know that he can loop around like this, basically. We'll see if it actually happens. Striker's on the payload right now. Oh, he comes around the other side. So Striker... Oh, that's interesting. But he's going to push him off no matter what. So what happened was Striker was on the payload right here. And he just jumped up and bounced right to the high ground and Jake. And then over there. Boom. While avoiding the trap.
To sit back with the rest of his team for one last dive. You're going to have Valkyrie here for Calyx. Jake needs to be able to locate the Mercy with the Rip Tire to take those res this out of the equation because, I mean, right now, if you're Boston, you get a good use of this Valkyrie. You'll be able to stop Houston from advancing. Here comes the Riptire. Let's see what Jake can get with it.
Batter up. Jake's looking to make the difference here, but it's such a low HP tire and no deals with it. It's a war of attrition. It takes too much damage as it approaches the lineup.
There's the self-destruct. No one gets hit. But it does force everyone back in this awkward spot. And now you got Linkster in your back line. Oh, Muma and Bonnie are both taken out. How does Bonnie get taken out? Alright, so it's a really nice dive from these three right here. That takes out Bonnie. You can see his dead corpse right there. And then now they're on Muma. He's dead. And then now it's Cool Matt. No gets demeched, but it doesn't matter. They have the Valkyrie and Houston Outlaws doesn't. 10 seconds left. They feel very okay burning ultimates here to just clear off Houston off the point. They're not going to get overtime. There's no one there. Yeah, that was a nice primal bat, Gamsu. He just swatted. He swatted what's his face off? Muma.
Because they've been playing pretty much like a standard comp, you know, the entire time.
All right, so we're
seems like they're throwing in some different stuff here today.
So we're seeing a very similar team composition from Houston Outlaws from their first point attack, except the difference is that Raucus is now on Zenyatta instead of the Roadhog, whereas Boston Uprising is literally playing a mirror team comp because I assume Dream Casper is going to swap. Actually, he might not. We could very well see the Mei here. Alright, he will swap on to... Whoa. Okay, so he swaps to Roadhog and then Neko is on the Bastion. So it's a very different. Completely different from their thing, obviously. Completely different from their defense. I wonder if they're going to do pirate ship or if they're not going to do that.
We see the pirate ship come out on Dorado. This is usually reserved for Junkertown. Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. You know, they had this set up at the beginning.
Breaks the shield. Nice. All right, so they are doing a pirate ship strategy. Striker's going to try and push up and put pressure, though, because otherwise, if Striker's not putting pressure on their backline, it's way too easy to destroy this. But Cool Matt's actually... Okay, so Cool Matt is right over here, so he's denying the flank from Striker, because he knows that's where Striker wants to go. So it's just completely denied. He's coming around, and now he's going to dive onto Neko in the back. But Linkster gets taken out. Yeah, you can see Cool Matt's all the way behind. He just goes all the way behind. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's so beautiful. Oh, that's a really nice halt. Bonnie's down. There's the res coming out from Neko. This is probably a first point take from Boston. Oof. See, I'm not sure if I agree with that positioning from Linkster. Or sorry, from Striker, because I see what the idea is. He's trying to get a pick on Linkster as he comes back, but at the same time, that's an unresable death, and now there's an opportunity for Houston Outlaws to stall the point. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, though.
The Outlaws have to admit they cannot fight into this Bastion anymore.
You don't want to keep running at it. It'll be Dreamcaster on the flank here. Linkster on a hook, finishes him off with a nice shot.
Bunny. It's dangerous here. And this is a dangerous little fight there for Muma to jump into, but no kills after the fact from Casper, just to link to the fall.
I like this positioning from Dream Casper because he's just kind of playing on this high ground, making it harder for the squishies to jump up there. And you can see that all around. There's no high ground being given to Houston Outlaws without contesting it, because that allows them a really good vantage point to drop onto Neko. And when you're controlling all the flanks like this, it's basically making it impossible for Neko to actually get pushed on.
down bit by bit. Neko actually gets removed. He's rezzed up. There might be time for that tank configuration for Neko if he can hang up in the heat.
They do manage to take him out with the Transcendence, though. And he's basically, they kill him twice in the Transcendence. They'll probably swap off of the Bastion now. Yep, Neko's on the Zenyatta.
Even though he had ultimate, that's how disciplined these guys are right now. The boss has definitely lost this fight. But you've advanced the
Alright, so let's watch that again. Because what Boston was doing was really smart. And they only managed to lose this because of a lot of ultimates. So I went too far. Alright, so they're trying to use Junkrat to push off Neko, but he's staying pretty safe. Dreamcasper's still on this high ground, doing Dreamcasper things, and then the self-destruct comes in, hits no one.
Causing a ton of problems. The combination of the Roadhog, the Widowmaker, and the Bastion. You know, Houston really doesn't know who to focus down first.
Alright, so Dreamcasper gets Muma and he gets rezzed up. So I'm actually kind of confused as to what Muma's actually trying to do here, because they don't really need to kill Dreamcasper, and there wasn't any follow-up on it. He just jumps in and then he dies to Dreamcasper, and they waste a res on that. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know if he got surprised, but I don't feel like he should have been, because his team should have communicated to Muma that Dreamcasper was there. I think that was just a mistake. That was just a dumb mistake. Alright, so Jake kills Striker, and I think that really opens up this point. Because both both reses from Kelix get used, and then the Transcendence is popped on point. And there's no Transcendence from Boston Uprising to keep everyone up because Neko is on the Bastion. So that's a really nice play. Literally, Houston Outlaws just uses their advantage of having two support ultis to punish Boston Uprising. Because the Transcendent, Bastion can't outdamage a Transcendence, basically.
But you've advanced the payload a decent amount if you're the Boston Uprising, right? You still have 3+ minutes.
And they don't even lose any advantage, like support advantage, because Kelix had to pop his Valkyrie in that fight as well. So basically, Kelix is at 20% Valkyrie, while Bonnie is at 47% Valkyrie. There's literally there was no loss to doing that. They use both support ults, but they're also going to get them back way faster. So, really good hold by Houston Outlaws. This is probably going to get stalled out for another 2 minutes at least.
Unfortunately, Boston don't really want to necessarily be without their Winston here, but Cormac gets desuited. Might be something to go on with here. The self-destruct has found Jake. The Lynx is still feeling pretty safe, and there should be a resurrect there. There should be another Houston Outlaws fight. But there's still so much time in the round. Boston have still got a lot to work with.
Alright, so now the support ultis are coming up for Houston, and they're not up for Boston Uprising. They'll go in for another fight. Boston's going to take another fight, but they're not going to win it, and then the fight after that's going to be the money fight. If Houston Outlaws uses their support ultis in the next fight, that's a big win for Boston, but that's likely not going to happen because it's really hard to force out a support ultimate without using your own.
All that visibility through the walls.
Yep, he's looking straight down. He's trying to find the best.
Trying to find a drop target.
Progress point into this fight.
Oh,
Casper being down is
that's really harsh for Boston Uprising now.
Boomer jumping in. Shield drop down. No follow-up though.
Dreamcasper dies in the street by the payloads. You're not going to be able to safely get out and res. It's another fight for the Houston Outlaws. They can hold on to their support ults. Jake now building up towards another rip tire. See if he can connect with somebody early. Boston starting to mount up some good ultimates out here, Mitch. We talked about it, both support ults and their Dragon Blade. You're going to have them in this fight.
Casper falls back.
2 minutes, and support ults are up for. Oh, okay, we're.
Casper falls back.
Alright, so Gamsu goes up. It's a coordinated dive, Striker and Gamsu together, but Gamsu goes down right away because Linkster gets the headshot. So this is what I'm actually confused by. Gamsu jumps up, but he doesn't flip around. Most Winstons do a 180 when they jump, so they can't get headshot. But you see he's at half health right here. And then he gets discorded and killed. So, unlucky. Kelix gets the res off. But alright. Yeah, so both Valkyries are going to be met. 6v6. Riptire's chasing down Note. That's big because you can't res a DMAC. Although Note does get Jake. It'll re-res though. You can res a dead Note though. Sorry. Jake's getting really low. Alright, this should be the point, I think. Is there a Primal Rage? No, there's no Primal Rage. They're not going to stall this. Alright, 2 minutes and 50. There's still Transcendences on the board. Lynx are still going to stick on the Widowmaker. Normally you'd see a lot of Widowmakers swap off at this point.
Having somebody deal with him right away, whether it's Dreamcaster, Gamsu, Striker pressuring him out, they have not given up free real estate to Linkser. They're going to jump right on.
Alright, Transcendence about to keep up Helix, and that's a big win for Houston Outlaws because they don't force out, like you can see right now. Yeah, see, so what Boston immediately did is after their Transcendence is burned, they try to dive Raucus to burn his Transcendence. It's a really smart play, but they can't burn it without spending this Dragon Blade. I think that they should have just engaged. They should have just burned the Dragon Blade, got this Transcendence out, but unlucky. Alright, so they do actually end up burning the Dragon Blade, but that seemed a little late. They lost some time on that. There was a fine play. Like there's, well, actually that is kind of smart because it staggers their alt's advantages. So basically, Bonnie's going to be coming up with Valkyrie before Kellex, but Neko's now going to be coming up with Transcendence before Raucus by staggering that. So they do give up a little bit of time, but now they actually have a tangible alt advantage to work with. So what basically will end up happening is Bonnie will have Valkyrie. Boston tries to force a team fight and force out Bonnie's ultimate. And if they get it, that's great. If they don't, whatever. But then what's going to happen is Neko and Kellex are both going to come up with their support ultimates while Raucus won't have Transcendence. And then they'll just burn both of these support ultimates in one team fight while Bonnie only has Valkyrie. And they'll win the team fight. And you hopefully by that time, Dreamcasper's coming up on another Dragon Blade. He might not quite have it yet, but he should hopefully have it before Raucus's Transcendence. And then they just win the, because they don't have to push all the way. They just have to get it. So basically, one more team fight is Boston, and then they should be coming up on 2 support ultimates. They might not have Transcendence at 100%. It might be at like 80%, but it will come up during the fight. Alright, you can see Kellex is at 70%. They're just kind of pushing. They're not really doing any coordinated dives. Because they really want Kellex to get that Valkyrie, so they're just taking damage so that Kellex can get his ultimate up. Gamsu goes down though. Kellex is going to die, that's big. Alright. So let's actually talk about that. So Boston didn't do any big dive or anything because they didn't want to force an actual team fight. They just wanted to force Houston to damage them so that they could get healing from Kellex and they could have Neko do damage. But killing Gamsu is actually important because there's only a minute left, and that's going to stagger their defense, and so they're going to have to push back. Note getting demeched, he's going to have to go commit suicide, so that's another 10 seconds off the board, which means that Boston Uprising is going to regroup around 40 seconds. Raucus is coming up onto an ultimate here. He's going to have it in overtime. He won't have it when the fight starts, most likely. But actually, whoa. Raucus has already overtaken Neko, so there's no longer any advantage for Boston Uprising. Because they were able to kill Gamsu, Raucus got a lot of alt charge off of people who were backing off and resetting. So now there's no alt advantage from Boston Uprising at all. So that kill onto Gamsu is really messed up their chances at getting this offense. Dreamcasper gets rezzed up. Valkyries are popped. Straight goes down. Raucus goes down, so it's going to be Both reses out for Bonnie. Oh, Neko and Striker, and there's no more reses left. But they do have to bring up Neko. Oh, that's a huge play by Linkser. Now with Dreamcast out of the fight, it's over. That Dragon Blade in the back pocket was super important because they were going to pop it as soon as that Transcendence ran out. Let's see, did they know where? So, okay, so Linkser sees. So Linkser was just guarding the body here, and he's waiting for Kellex. Kellex just goes in way faster than he thought. He tries to flash Dreamcasper. Raucus is brought up. Transcendence. Boom, Transcendence right there. And Linkser comes back around here. Oh, that's so smart. He just runs back around. Raucus tells him where Dreamcasper is. You can see Linkser's walking back. Flashbang. Pop, pop. And it's over. I mean, there was already going to had to be a really huge Dragon Blade to win this team fight because people were dying on the back line, but that was their only chance at actually securing it. Whew. 2-2. Alright, Lijiang Tower, boys. Let's see what's going on. Alright. Let's just keep skipping ahead, see where it goes. Oh. Too far. So Lijiang Tower is actually not a great map for Boston Uprising just because of their playstyle. Dive is not favored on Boston Uprising or on Lijiang on every single stage. It's really good on Gardens and Market, but not on Control Center. Which means that Houston has a slight advantage. I'm
sure there's a lot of people in the crowd. I feel like the crowd would have to be split, right? You know, this is a point where we see a ton of Junkrat play. Maybe they think the Uprising is going to...
Alright. Boom. So, Boston is playing a full dive composition, which is not ideal on Control Center because there's no strong... It's just really claustrophobic, which means that this Junkrat's going to have a lot of value and this McCree's going to have a lot of value because there's no damage fall off is going to come into play here. So basically all Houston Outlaws has to do is peel for Jake, and Jake will be able to destroy the dive because they'll be diving into these tight corners where Jake will have a lot of value coming from his grenades.
You know, this is a point where we see a ton of Junkrat play. Maybe they think the Uprising is going to run that Junkrat. They could have farmed a lot.
And this is the best angle for Boston to come from because it's the most open. If they were coming in through that little choke point there, Jake would probably have his ultimate already. Like, in all, like, it would be ridiculous. But, I mean, what Houston's going to do is they're going to play this little corner right here because it is so closed off and closed in. And as soon as the point unlocks, they can just walk onto there and they can stay back, they can hold. And there's no reason for them to play aggressively. They win just by existing on Control Center. And so this is going to force Boston Uprising to make a play, but it's going to be really hard, especially with, yeah, Striker gets pinned. Like, how does that happen? Unlucky, but once that happens, there's no more dive.
The one thing about playing cool map on Zarya here is that you can take advantage of Note, extremely aggressive and get charged.
And then, so the next thing is that once Houston Outlaws has control of the point, they can push up and control this right here. And then the only way they back off is if Striker backcaps the point, more or less. Which he's doing. So that's a nice little back off. It gives Boston a little bit of room to work with, but still, they have to make a play. Like, they have to go in on that, otherwise. Ooh, that's awesome. No peel was coming out, so Jake went on a solo mission, and No immediately punishes him for it, because Cool Matt's nowhere to be seen with the shield. If oh yeah, that was smart. No, knows his limits well. And then Linkser comes down. Right, so that fight gets lost because Jake is trying to, like, he's at 86%, so he's trying to get a little bit of extra ult charge. So he rounds the corner to try and get a concussion mine on someone. And once he has that, he'll have his Riptire, and then he can shut down this push. But he pushes up too far. Cool Matt isn't there to bubble him, and so Note gets the destruction. And then once Junk is down, this composition falls apart because he's the anti-dive hero. Like, the reason Junkrat's so hard to dive into is because concussion mines push you around. And so if Jake is double mining your tanks and like they use their mobility cooldowns to jump onto your support and then Jake mines them and so they're completely gone, it's impossible to actually do anything. You can't make that dive work. So if Jake is gone, the crux of your anti-dive is donezo. But Linkser actually comes up with a big pick onto Striker, and so the Riptire is going to be popped immediately. They're going to look for the supports. Boom, right there onto Neko. But this is just a stall tactic. Gamsu's dead no matter what here. They're going to try and... the pick on the Striker kind of ruined this fight for them, and then afterwards the Riptire come out. It was going to be hard to win that fight simply because of Riptire if they aren't able to kill that. But with the pick on Neko and the pick on Striker, the fight was over from the beginning. But there's 5 ultimates coming in from both teams here, so a lot of things can happen. I would give the advantage to Houston Outlaws though because they have both support ultimates. So at the very least, there's a lot more chance for something to happen. Really nice. Ooh. There's no Valkyrie from Kellex. This fight's over. That was almost going to be an amazing fight for. So basically, what happens is Cool Matt gets found out by Note. Note checks the corners. Very smart, very smart. Cool Matt has to run back. He gets taken out, but he pops the Graviton right away, and Neko isn't there. If Neko was there, they win that fight. But Neko wasn't in the Graviton Surge. He was playing it safe. He was playing conservative. And that actually ends up punishing Boston Uprising. Unlucky. That was almost the best fight they could have hoped for. And they're probably going to lose. They will lose this point because the only really ultimate they have is Dream Casper's Dragon Blade. And there's a Transcendence from Ruckus to counter it out. So they're going to be able to touch, I think. But... Yep, so Gamsu gets the touch. Oh my good sweet lord. How does Ruckus die without popping Transcendence? Dream Casper died though. He popped a Dragon Blade and died immediately. That was... Oh my goodness. I feel... See... Oh, the Riptire. That's so... shitty. Oh my goodness. The Riptire comes out, and then, yeah, now it's over, I think. But... Oh, they managed to pop it back. Wow. I feel like I'm really dumb for getting too caught up into this. Alright, so I don't even remember what happened. So Dream Casper pops his ultimate and dies. The self-destruct comes out to solve the point. Gamsu goes in, and he waits. He gets a pick. He dies. Wow. They just managed to cap the point while they were all forced off. There is a high nude coming out from Linkser though. High nude is not really going to be that useful here though because with such tight spaces, it's going to be really easy for Note to zone him out, basically. Whenever he pops high noon, Note will be diving in with the defense matrix. Jake dies right away. Oh, there's a Graviton. That's a nice Graviton. That was actually, I think that was a really smart play by Houston Outlaws. So they group up in this really, like they're always playing this corridor right here. The corridor is their home base with this team composition. It forces it forces Boston to get super grouped up when they want to dive in. You can see that they punish Jake, but as soon as that happens, the Graviton comes out, and then that's all she wrote. Because when Boston Uprising dives, they're in such a tight clump that it's impossible not to get a sick Graviton like that. And that's going to be overtime. That's going to be control center. Alright, so we got full dive composition with Dreamcasper on the Pharah, but no Mercy. We're going season 6, or not season. We're going season 5, boys. We got Zenyatta and we got Lucio, and it's going to be the same from Houston Outlaws. Wonder why they didn't sub in Boink for this map if they planned on going Lucio, but I guess we won't know. Other than that, it's mirror comps.
It's a different story, though.
I'm actually kind of interested as to why they decided to run Pharah without Mercy, especially when Mercy's like so good. I don't recall seeing this before, but I don't know. I can't remember how many times Lijiang has actually been played in Overwatch League. So how does Linkser die? We don't actually see. He just dies, and we don't have any view of that. So unlucky.
Good first pick. Bonnie will have to go down to rest. Forcing at least the resurrect from Bonnie now, putting him in a bit of a compromising situation because
Gamsu takes out Muma. This might be a fight win for... Yeah, that's a fight win. Alright, blah, blah, blah. I want to see why... Because we go down here, and then all of a sudden, Houston's all at this little hut getting pressured super hard by from the 2 angles by both tanks. So that Pharah view, watching Jake for so long is so unfortunate because we don't see how Houston Outlaws gets forced into that awful position. They basically just got completely destroyed. Bonnie actually is on the Mercy now, so they swapped it. Oh, okay, I'm so dumb. They were on the Lucio because they were getting the speed boost right out of the gate, and then they immediately swapped to Mercy. I'm actually super dumb. Wow. I completely forgot teams did that. So I didn't even realize they had swapped to Mercy for that first fight. So both tanks are coming around from the Pagoda side. Yep. The D-Mech coming out. That was a very readable play because basically at this point there's no... So the thing about professional Overwatch is you don't actually need to kill the supports right away with a pulse bomb. You just need to get the defense matrix out of the way, and if you can D-Mech a D.Va with your pulse bomb, that's really worth it because then you can kill the supports afterwards. And so, boom, as soon as the defense matrix goes down, Muma, or Coolmat gets punished and D-Mech'd. And that's something top-level divas always have to be aware of, is that if they ever drop their defense matrix, that's an opportunity for Striker to go in. So I think that was just a mistake from Coolmat. They wanted to keep pressuring, and he didn't want to waste his defense matrix too quickly. Either that or he ran out, and he was already out. But if he was running out of defense matrix, he should have been communicating with his team so that they could fall back. Because then you can't keep pressuring. But alternatively, he might have been trying to bait the pulse bomb, and didn't realize he was in a bad position to get D-Mech'd like that. Ooh, sick play. So, playing a Pharah against a Widowmaker is really difficult, obviously. And so, as soon as they know that the Pharah is coming out... Oh, wow. So, Linkser actually spotted out Dreamcasper, if we see. So, right here, Widowmaker is facing Dreamcasper, and I don't know if he actually sees him or not, because if you see, he's kind of obscured by the pagoda. So he swaps around, and as soon as that happens, Dreamcasper dives in and gets the kill. While that happens, Raucus is dying. So that's 75% on the board for Boston Uprising, and they still have 2 support ultimates to work with. So literally this next fight, so when you have equal ultimates, the defender is favored usually, because it actually doesn't really matter that much on control maps because spawn advantage is the same for both teams, but the difference is that Boston Uprising has a slight advantage from where they can position, because while Houston Outlaws is resetting, they can throw Striker into these interesting flank routes. They can do all these different things, like right there. Oh, that was a really nice play. So actually, what happens is, well, obviously, that's pretty obvious. Muma just dives into Striker to kill him. And then they're going to get the Valkyrie res off, and Striker's going to have a much harder time getting back to the fight. Really heads up play by Muma right there. Oh my goodness. So the very dangerous thing about this right here is that when Dreamcasper dies, he drops into the pit, so he can't be rezzed. That's going to be a point flip because there's no res going to be coming out. So Boston Uprising comes in with the advantage, but because of a really smart play by Muma, it's going to be an overtime take for Houston Outlaws. There's no point in stalling this because they already have 99%.
Could be the problem here, but Coolman's back. Lynx is also here now on that McCree. Casper gets headshot into next Tuesday.
I don't know why they keep extending this fight. They have 99%. Because all, like, they just keep giving more and more ult charge to Houston Outlaws. Bonnie's at 40%, whereas Kellex is at 20%. Why do you do that? You lose out on any... I don't get it. I don't get it. Raucus has a 20% lead. You're just making it harder for yourself to retake.
No support ults on the side of Houston. Lynx are getting close to Deadeye. A lot of open space here. He can connect with a few players. I'm interested to see who Boston puts that primary focus on when the dive comes.
Ultimately, a 20% support ult advantage isn't that big, but every little bit matters. And so, again, the other thing is that when you're on defense, you generally get your support ultimates faster. So Bonnie is at 70%, whereas Kellex is only at 34% still. So it's like, I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as a very smart play.
Lynx are taking a couple of those shurikens, and looks like Yamper's going to be follow-up. Gamsu is stunned. He can't quite get to Lynx. The Raucus is in the way. No, it does get desuited in the meantime, but he was able to find Raucus. The Zenyatta is now missing.
Neko dying is really unlucky.
But Lynx can't hang around for too long. Gamsu's just getting too close and personal with that one. Cormac goes for the self-destruct, but in the meantime, Raucus gets squashed by Gamsu, who's now found his third kill of the fight, and he's looking for more. Muma's responded, though. The Winstons are getting involved in this one. It's a scrap fest. Two divas.
Muma dead. This might be a retake for Boston Uprising. Alright, that's a retake. Will their stall come out?
Still standing on the point. Jake's being healed at the moment by Banny. He's going to try and pressure back in here. And Note's going to get
wow.
have to back away, and Numa
wow.
down. The Outlaws are holding on. They're holding strong. Going to take more than that to get the job done, though. But Casper knows it's time.
70%. How did they not end up capping this? Alright, so Dreamcasper dies. Muma dies.
The Winstons are getting involved in this one. It's a scrap fest. Two divas up on the point. Only one can survive, but Jake's also going to be helping out. Not much of a gentleman's duel anymore.
Alright, so Cool Matt's gone. They kill Cool Matt, right? Jake comes back onto the point to stall. Oh, and then Muma comes back in. Wow. They just managed to keep one person on the point at all times. When Jake jumped off, I thought they were going to cap it, but someone else was on the point and I didn't get to see who, but I think it was Bonnie. Jake's playing really far up. You can see him right there. Striker's probably going to Striker's probably going to spot. No. He's going to get... He can get pretty much anyone. Oh my goodness, he misses everything though. Ay. He's dead. Wow. Ooh. And now Dreamcasper has the Dragon Blade while there's no Transcendence, so he's free to pop this out whenever he wants. It's good. This should be. If this is not a retake, then we are donezo. I'm donezo, dude. Doomfist comes out from Linkster. Primal Rage comes out from the stall. Should be Muma should die right now, and that should be it. Ruckus is gonna die. Boom, there it is. Whew. That was a really good, clean play from Dreamcasper to kill Linkster and then pop the Dragon Blade to win the team fight. If he didn't do that, like, if he didn't get the kill on Linkster, that would have been such a hard fight to win.
Spending all season being underestimated by pundits, fans, and who deny the Outlaws entry to the playoffs for taking it.
This is it, down to the wire, the last point. I already know who wins because I watched the playoff matches, but I wish. I still want to believe. Right, so Jake is on the soldier. Sorry, I didn't mean to open that up. Jake is on the not the soldier. And other than that, it's pretty standard dive comp. Dreamcasper's on the Pharah, and other than that, it's a pretty standard dive comp. Again, the two different philosophies. I think Houston knows that they can't match Dreamcasper's Pharah for Pharah, so they just decide to play the hit scan.
It looked like for a second Bunny was attempting to get a resurrect. He stood still, but he gets taken.
So they spot out where Jake is really early, and as soon as they spot him out, the tanks are diving in, everyone's going in. There's no way you can peel for that without, like, this is the other thing. The health pack is down from Jake, so as soon as that runs out, there's no possible way you can peel for this. Everyone comes in, and even if Cool Matt was there and defense matrixing this guy, there's no way they could peel that, because there's just not enough healing to outdo all that damage. That was a direct rocket hit from like Dreamcasper, which does like half of Jake's health. So half of Jake's health from one rocket, then jump pack is another 50 damage plus the melee. That's basically 200 damage right there. It's pretty much instant.
Bonnie's playing right next to him, just trying to heal him up. You see from the top-down view that Bonnie just providing the healing to Jake, and they're just
Jake is just about as pulse bomb. He's on the prowl.
But he also has the second highest final blows on his whole team. He's been killing 13 final blows to Striker's 16.
Alright, so Dreamcasper actually is taken out. We don't see how that happens. Unlucky. Alright, so Linkster was on the point to pressure Note. So Note runs back to stop any kind of stall tactics, and while that happens, there's no peel on the front line, and so Gamsu and Striker die, basically. I wonder if Boston Uprising, they just don't care about Linkster, and they just, I think they lost that fight because they sent Note back to the point to deal with Linkster. But if they just kept Note on the front line and then dived in on whoever from Houston Outlaws, like Jake or Bonnie or Net or Raucus, they might have won that fight. But because they sent Note back, Houston Outlaws got a good and clean engage off onto the front line, and there was no peel for Gamsu, and he's killed. And he was killed. And you can see Jake saves his health drop until the dive comes in on him, and he manages to survive that one. There's no more tactical visor though, so that is still a win for the Boston Uprising. Where does Dreamcasper use his ulti? There's no way he can do it now. Sorry, never mind. I'm an idiot. I thought that Muma was Cool Matt, so I'm like, there's no way he pops his barrage now, because he'll just get instantly killed by Cool Matt. But it wasn't Cool Matt. It was Muma.
Somehow Bonnie able to stay alive throughout the
Alright,
entire
so
fight.
no support ultimates coming up for a bit from either team. Ruckus will be the first to get his. He's at 80%. That's going to make it really hard for anything to come out from Boston Uprising. This is going to be a really tough fight for them to win, because basically there's going to be 2 ultis up from Houston Outlaws and there's no ultis up from Boston. He just needs to get 1 kill with his tac visor. That's so unlucky. If he gets 1 kill with the tac visor, that's more or less a guaranteed map win.
Was harassing him, and he does pull that ultimate. Perhaps the heat of the situation just forcing Jake's hand. He's used an ultimate for essentially nothing.
Dream Casper. Wow. He just goes down. Whoa, what the fuck? These fights are so crazy. What the fuck is going on? Alright, so Kellex has his ultimate. Rez comes out. Neko kills Linkster. So they're up a guy. There's no... Wow, there's no Valkyrie from Bonnie, and then just while that Rez is coming down, 2 people die, and then after that it's over. Neko still has his Transcendence, Ruckus doesn't have his, so it's going to be a Transcendence versus a, Valkyrie. It's going to be an interesting fight, see what happens.
So the next fight will be huge for Houston. You have your Valkyrie, but Dreamcasper with this blade, it's so dangerous. He takes out Bonnie during
So yeah, there's no Transcendence and there's Dreamcasper with the blade. Still though, Houston's in a very great position to retake. Transcendence popped out from Neko. As soon as it runs out, they're able to D-mech. They're able to D-mech note, and then Neko dies. So I can't even see what's going on.
It's about staying alive right now for Dreamcasper, staying awake and staying
it's just so chaotic. Wow.
Surely they've got the point. It's over. No, the Boston Uprising keep it up. Kellex just dips a toe on towards the point to try and keep it in stasis, but he's eventually going to go down.
D-Mac and kill.
Earlier on, and Casper wants to get in. Dorado in his face. Now Striker, who's next? It's Gamsu stepping up to the plate, 1 by 1, but it's just the trickle. Gamsu so low. Note has control of the point now. It's time for the tactical visor. He's trying to force Jake away, and it's going to be Neko going down. Note to fall. Raucus control of the...
Okay, such a crazy fight. Good lord. Okay, so coming in. So Jake is playing around this little corner right here. Really smart, makes it hard for him to be dived on. Basically, he just wants to make sure that he doesn't get killed instantly. Coolmat's coming around. They're waiting for the regroup. Linkster's going around to pressure the point and maybe like force someone back. The dive comes in from Houston Outlaws. Linkster's on the point, so basically Boston has to peel back. Striker is in the back line. He's trying to take out Jake, but he doesn't get it. He's so close, but Mercy's on him. And then as soon as Dreamcasper goes in, the self-destructive pop, he gets zoned out of the fight, so he can't actually get any kills. And then Linkster kills Striker. That's a huge pick. There's no Valkyrie from Kellex, so as soon as that Transcendence runs out, Houston Outlaws has the advantage because they have that insane healing buff for like 20 seconds basically. And then that's the fight won. Wow, that's so unlucky for Houston Outlaws. So unlucky. Sorry, not Houston Outlaws. That's so unlucky for Boston Uprising, who's my favorite team. Well, I just want to thank you all for watching. If I'll be uploading this to YouTube, and if you want to see more of this, you can follow me or subscribe or whatever. Thanks. I appreciate it, y'all.